Now, Nancy Pelosi was on a CNBC interview with John Harwood, and she was asked if the president was too soft on Wall Street. Here's her answer.
The president is nearing the end of his term, but he's starting to get more and more criticism from Democrats. Elizabeth Warren went after Mary Jo White, president's choice to head the SEC. Do you think that is piling on, scoring political points at the president's expense? Do you agree with her on that?
No, but I mean, I'm not into what her case is there. People will express themselves the way they do. That doesn't mean they're speaking for the party. And
There's
I think
some
the people
on the left who think this administration has been too soft on Wall Street. The administration's just been too close with the financial industry. Do you agree with that?
The financial industry doesn't agree with that. There may be a couple people who say that, but that is not the consensus in our party.
No, that is completely wrong. That is absolutely wrong. Oh, well, the financial industry thinks so. The financial industry, they want to deregulate themselves almost completely. But no, they don't think so. And those are the guys that sign my checks. So yeah, they don't think so at all. But come on, man. This is why the Democratic Party. A lot of people do not feel the Democratic Party is working for them because they say shit like this. I don't know.
That's kind of what I was alluding to, and what I meant before is that because it's so easy to get a pulse of the country if you get your mindset out of Washington, D.C., and you speak to people and speak to progressive. Millennials are overwhelmingly progressive and have progressive ideals, no matter even if they're leaning further to the right a bit, they still agree with certain principles of getting money out of politics, making sure millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share of taxes, and just ending corruption. And that comment itself, where she's immediately trying to throw water on Elizabeth Warren's fire of, yes, we need to do more against Wall Street. I mean, and Pelosi's whole entire argument can be discredited by saying, so do you think these banks on Wall Street would prefer Glass-Steagall or Dodd-Frank? What did you give them? And that's kind of it. I mean, that's kind of it right there.
And it's interesting too, because the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are supposed to be like two completely opposite parties. But there's one thing that both parties have in common, is they're tied to the financial industry. And it's upsetting that the Democratic Party would, allow money to, to corrupt their party. It's just disheartening, and it's awful.
Yeah, that is why we need to get the money out of politics. But I do want to point out that Hillary Clinton, right? Some of her biggest donors are giant banks. Citigroup, for example, gave her $958,638. Okay, so that's almost $1 million. This is her career, not at one cycle. JP Morgan Chase, another giant donor, over $900,000. Goldman Sachs, another $900,000. So, look, man, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in campaign donations, which are essentially legal bribes. You were saying, Walter?
Oh, that's not even counting her speeches and the money she received from the financial institutions from those. So when people try to say that she has no connection to the financial industry and doesn't owe them anything, just follow the money. Like David Sirota has pointed that out time and time again, and The Intercept has pointed out time and time again. Yes, she has these positions because of the money. If you get money out of politics, people won't be corrupt. It's not that she's the most corrupt person ever. It's that she's typically corrupt like every other politician that's been with the establishment, and people are tired of that.
Yeah, it really is. It's the system. Like, it's not the fact that Hillary's worse than everybody else. No, she's a product of the system. Guess what? She learned how the system works, and she used the system to her advantage. And now she's incredibly rich and incredibly powerful. That is the system.
And
okay,
it's interesting too, because Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, they're like the future of the Democratic Party in a way, and it's just odd that Nancy Pelosi would say something like that.
Not odd at all. That is not odd at all, because you know what? What she's saying is true.
Underestimating the future of the Democratic Party, I guess.
But see, the Democrats, you know, they take all this money from big corporations and from the banks and financial industry, and that's part of who they represent now. See, that's the main problem with the Democratic Party. That's why they're so disconnected from us, is because they take all this money. And then when somebody says, "Hey, you're being do you think we're being too hard on the financial industry?" With people like Elizabeth Warren, publicly say, "Hey, banker, you need to go to jail for this," right? Give me one reason why we shouldn't throw you in jail for screwing over your customers by opening fake accounts in the case of Wells Fargo, right? And a lot of the Democrats are going, yeah, but that's, no, the bankers, they're our friends. They're our campaign contributors. Why would we ever do anything like that to them? No. Let's give them a fine that they can definitely afford and let them go on their business. That's what's wrong.
And deserves credit.
She does, but I don't think that she's going to get a lot of it from a lot of members of the left. There's a lot of people that are very, very angry. And I understand that anger, right? I felt that anger. I was like, come on, Warren, seriously, what are you doing? What are you doing? Endorsing Hillary Clinton or not endorsing Bernie Sanders? But look, I know that it's politicians playing politics. And in politics is dirty, okay? And politics, look, politics sucks. It really does. There's a lot of, but part of it is deal making. There's a lot of deal making that goes on behind the scenes, and we don't know what happened. What Elizabeth Warren was either promised, or the deals that she had to make to keep her position, or whatever. Right? Same thing with Bernie Sanders. We don't know what happened behind the scenes or what kind of deals were made.
That's actually interesting you bring that up. One of my most well-received articles during the primary was early on, and it speculated on how the race could be affected if Bernie Sanders announced Elizabeth Warren as his VP candidate. I forgot exactly when that was, but it was rather early on, and in my premise was that it could have helped him gather even more of the female vote and have this united progressive front that, honestly, in my opinion, going forward, it would have swung Massachusetts, and it could have swung other states to mean something more. It could have even swung Nevada, possibly. And there's so many things that could have happened, and her staying silent during the entire primary definitely hurt Bernie Sanders, and there's no way to get around that. But I don't think it should forever damn her to not be able to receive credit for what she's done. I think it was a poor choice for her to not align herself with someone who has almost an identical thought process as her. So, but this is still a great thing, and the banks, something needs to happen to the banks, and they need to have the same treatment as any other American citizen. Now, if someone had done this themselves and committed that level of identity fraud, they would be in prison for the next 125 years.
And unfortunately, we have a justice system that is tilted towards people who are rich. Now, if you're poor and you steal a candy bar, and if you're black, you'll get like 10 years in prison. If you're rich and you rip off a whole bunch of people, well, you get a bonus. But of course, that's after you fire all the low-level peons that are making $12, $13 an hour, that have so much sales pressure put on them by the heads of the company in order to make these quotas, that they're resorted to doing this kind of bad behavior just in order to keep their jobs. It really is sickening what we have today. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation.